everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to make another Russian spiral bracelet today, but I'm going to be using different sized beads. The other one I made, and I'll link it in the corner of this video and in the description box below in case you want to go back and look at it. I probably won't go into as much detail about how to do the Russian spiral today as I did on it. But in it I used 4mm fire polish beads. Today I'm going to be using these. These are 3x2mm rondelles. It says bubble. I think it's supposed to be bubblegum pink. It's supposed to be the color. I got these from Eureka Crystal Beads. And then I have another 3x2mm crystal rondelle. This just says blue. I got those from Eureka Crystal Beads too. And then I have these 3mm fire polish beads. I was looking for pastel colors because, you know, it's springtime. So I was looking for some pastel colors, and I wanted to get some green in it, and this was the closest thing to pastel green I had. It says emerald, and I know I got I've got 2 strands of them, and I know I got at least this one strand from Bead Crate, because that's what the little thing I always cut out and put on them to label the things I got from Bead Crate. I don't know if I got this strand from them too and just didn't label it or what, but they're exactly the same. So that's what I'm going to be using for that. And then I've got some 8-0s, Miyuki White Ceylon. And then I have some 11-0s in my galvanized silver that I use a lot, Miyuki galvanized silver. I'm going to put it on some leather like I did that herringbone bracelet the other day. I've got my 1.5mm leather here. It's Exotica is the brand. I think I can I'm going to double it like I did that herringbone bracelet the other day and put it through there. And I think I can get both this 1.5mm doubled up through it. If I can always get out my 1mm, but I think it'll work. And then I've got a little button here. This is a little shank button. I think it's supposed to look like a little sunflower that I'm going to use. And I've got my crochet hook. I'm just going to use it to put up through the center of my beadwork to bead around. You don't have to have that. I just like to use it, especially when I'm doing these videos. It helps me to hold it steadier. I've got my size 11 tulip beading needles. I've got 2 of them, but I'm only going to be using one. I just always have an extra in case I lose one. I've got my 8-pound fire line, and I'm using crystal today since these beads are so light colored. And I've got my chain nose pliers that I use to flatten the end of my thread so I can get the thread through my needle. And of course I have my scissors to cut my fire line. Like I've said before, you probably want to have a little pair of cheap scissors to cut your fire line because it will dull your good scissors. I think that's everything. Hold on and I'll get some of my beads poured out and I'll be back. Okay, I've got some of my beads poured out here and I'm going to get started here. I'm going to try to zoom in because these beads are very small and they're very pale. So I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to do this just exactly like I did the other day. It's just that I'm using different. I just wanted to show you how you can use different size beads. I'm going to pick up 1 of my pink rondelles, 2 of my 11-0s, 1 of my blue rondelles, 2 of my 11-0s, 1 of my white 8-0s, and 2 of my 11-0s, 1 of my green fire polish, and 2 of my 11-0s. That's what I've got on my needle there. 1 of each of my bigger beads with 2 11-0s between them. I'm going to bring it all down here to the bottom of down here to where my stop bead is. I've left about a 10-inch tail here. I'm not going to be sewing on a clasp because I'm going to be putting it on leather, but I'm going to try to cinch the end in a little bit like I did on that peyote bracelet the other day after I put it on the leather. So now I'm just going to go back through all the beads. Turn them into a circle there. I'm going to go back through all of them till I get past my stop bead. I'm going to go I'm going to come out between two of the 11-ohs. Doesn't matter which two 11-ohs. You just need to be coming out between two of your 11-ohs. Now I'm always going to be picking up my next big bead that's in line here. So my next big bead is one of my blue rondelles. So I'm going to pick up a blue rondelle and two 11-ohs. And I'm going to go into the 11-oh past that blue rondelle that's already on there. If I can get my needle in it. There we go. Pull it tight. Now my next big bead in line is a white 8-oh. So I'm going to pick up my white 8-oh and two of my 11-ohs. I'm going to go in the 11-oh right after the white 8-oh that's already on there. Now my next bead in line is my green fire polish. So I'm going to pick up a green fire polish, two of my 11-ohs, and I'm going to go into the 11-oh on the other side of the green fire polish bead. Now my next bead in line is a pink. I'm going to pick up my pink rondelle, two 11-ohs, and I'm going to go into the 11-oh that's past that pink rondelle that's already on there, and this is my step up. So I'm going to go into that 11-oh, the blue bead, which is the first bead I put on in this round, and the 11-oh after that blue bead. That's my step up. Pull my threads tight so my thread doesn't show. So that's what I got so far. Now I'm going to take a minute and push some of these beads back, and I've got them too many up here in my way. Hold on, I'll be back. I wanted to push my beads back because I wanted to show you how you can easier keep up with where your step up is. I'm going to be putting one of each of these big beads on in each round. So I'm going to take one of each of my big beads, one of my blue, one of my green, one of my white, and one of my pink, and put them in a little pile here. And that way when I get done, when I pick up my last bead, I'll know that's where I need to do my step up. So I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to put it in the bottom here, and I'm going to push it all up into a tube. Like I said, you don't have to use a crochet hook. It's easier sometimes, and it's definitely easier for me to hold it steadier so that I can show you what I'm doing. Okay, so get everything unhooked here. Okay, now my next bead in line is my white 8-oh. So I'm going to pick up white 8-oh up out of my little pile and two 11-ohs. And I'm going to go into the 11-oh on the other side of that white 8-oh. Pull my thread through. Now my next bead in line is a green fire polish. So I'm going to pick up my green fire polish out of my little pile, two 11-ohs. And I'm going to go into the 11-oh on the other side of that green fire polish. Now my next bead in line is a pink rondelle. I'm going to pick the pink rondelle up out of my little pile and two 11-ohs. And I'm going to go into the 11-oh on the other side of that pink rondelle. Pull my thread through. Now, the only bead I have left in my little pile is a blue rondelle, and that's my next bead in line. But since that's my last bead in my pile, then I know it's time to do my step up. So I'm going to pick up my blue rondelle and two 11-ohs. I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of the blue rondelle that's there. If I can get my needle under here. And I'm going to go through the white 8-0 and through the 11-0 on the other side of the white 8-0. And that's my step up. Now I'm going to lay my beads out here again. I'm going to take out a white 8-0, a green fire polish, a blue rondelle, and a pink rondelle. I'm going to keep them in this little pile so I know where my step up is. Now, unlike peyote, your step up won't be through the same bead every time. Like in peyote, I said you finally get to where you know that when you pick up a certain bead, that's where your step up is, but it will alternate in this. So if you have a hard time seeing where your step up is, it's a really good idea to lay them out in a little pile like this. So my next bead coming up here is a green fire polish. So I'm going to pick up a green fire polish out of my little pile, 2 11-0s. I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of that green fire polish. Pull my thread through. Now my next bead in line is a pink rondelle, so I'm going to pick up a pink rondelle out of my little pile, 2 11-0s, and I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of that pink rondelle that's already on there. Pull my thread through. Now my next bead in line is a blue rondelle, so I'm going to pick a blue rondelle up out of my little pile, 2 11-0s. I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of that blue rondelle. Now, I only have a white 8-0 left in my pile, so I know it's time to do my step up, and my next bead in line is a white 8-0. So I'm going to pick up a white 8-0, 2 11-0s. I'm going to go through the 11-0 on the other side of that white 8-0, the green bead, which is the next big bead in line, and the 11-0 on the other side of the green bead. And that's my step up. So now I'm going to take my little beads out again, a green one, a blue one, a white one, and a pink one. Put them in a little pile here. Now on this round, my first bead in line is a pink rondelle. So I'm going to pick the pink rondelle up out of my little pile, 2 11-0s. And I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of that pink rondelle that's already on there. Now my next bead in line is a blue rondelle, so I'm going to pick up the blue rondelle out of my little pile, 2 11-0s. And I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of that blue rondelle that's already on there. Pull my thread through. Now my next bead in line is a white 8-0, so I'm going to pick up my white 8-0 out of my little pile, 2 11-0s. I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of my white 8-0 that's already on there. Now the last bead in my little pile is a green fire polish, and that's my next big bead there. So I'm going to pick up a green fire polish, 2 11-0s, and I know this is where my step up is. So I'm going to go into the 11-0 behind the green fire polish, the pink bead, which is the next big bead, and the 11-0 on the other side of it. And that's my step up. And see, you're beginning to get a little spiral going on there. Now you can do this with all 8-0s. You can do it with all crystals. You can do whatever you want to. I just try to keep the beads to be somewhat the same size. And the 3mm and the 2x3mm and the 8-0s are roughly the same size, so they work out pretty well. So now I'm going to pick up one of my beads. I'll just do one more round, and I'll leave you alone. I'm going to pick up a blue and a green and a white and a pink. And my next bead in line is a blue rondelle, so I'm going to pick up my blue rondelle out of my little pile, 2 11-0s. And I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of this blue rondelle that's already on here. Now my next bead in line is a white 8-0, so I'm going to pick up the white 8-0 out of my little pile, 2 11-0s. And I'm going to go into the 11-0 on the other side of my white 8/0 that's already on there. Now my next bead in line is a green fire polish, so I'm going to pick up the green fire polish out of my pile, 2 11/0s, and I'm going to go into the 11/0 on the other side of the green fire polish that's already on here. Now I only have a pink rondelle left in my little pile, and that's my next bead in line, so I know this is my step up. So I'm going to pick up my pink rondelle, 2 11/0s, and I'm going to go into the 11/0 on the other side of the pink rondelle that's on here. I'm going to go up through the next big bead, which is a pink rondelle, and I'm going to go through the 11/0 on the other side of that blue rondelle. That's my step up. So that's what I've got so far. So I'm going to keep on doing this until I get my length. I'm not going to come back and show you how to add on thread because I did that in the other video. So if you, like I said, I'll link it in case you need to go back and look at it. So when I get the length I want, I'll be back and we'll put it on the leather and cinch in the ends. Okay, I've got about 6 inches of beading here, and in case you're wanting to make something similar, it took 64. It took 64 of each of my bigger beads, the 3x2 rondelles and the 8/0s and the 3mm fire polish, to make 6 inches. Now I thought I had my camera on and I didn't, and I already put my button on here, but I've got about 25 inches of leather here, and all I did was put my leather through there and centered it. Put my ends together and centered my button, and then just tied an overhand knot. And now I'm going to try to feed it through my piece here. Sometimes it wants to get hung in there, and you just have to just go a little bit at a time. Sometimes it wants to poke out the sides. Just have to, there we go. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to try to cinch my ends in a little bit here. Now, of course, you don't have to do the leather. If you want to cinch your ends like I'm going to do and put a clasp on it, that's fine. I do that a lot. But then sometimes I just want to put it on leather, so I just decided I'd put this on leather. So I hope you can see what I'm doing here around this leather, but I'm coming out where I stepped up here, and that's, you want to come out where your step up is after you've stepped up when you do this part, because that makes all of your beads are kind of all the same height here. So I'm gonna, let's see, it's been a minute since I've done this. How do I usually do this? Okay, I'm gonna go down through these 3 11/0s. I want to be coming out one of my big beads, I think. And if you're doing it around leather like I am, just be careful you don't get your thread hooked around your leather. And now I'm going to go back up this green fire polish bead here. Okay, now I'm going to pick up 3 of my silver 11/0s. And I'm going to jump over here and go into this next big bead, which is my pink 3x2mm. And now I'm going to pick up 3 more 11/0s. And I'm going to jump over here and go into my next big bead, which is my blue 3x2mm. And now I'm going to pick up 3 more of my 11/0s. And I'm going to jump over here and go into my next big bead, which is my white 8/0. And then I'm going to pick up 3 more beads. And I'm going to go over here, jump over here into my next big bead, which is my green fire polish bead. So I put four sections of 3 11-ohs. I'm going to go up into this is the first set of 3 11-ohs I put on. I'm going to go up into the middle one, the second one. And now I'm just going to go, I made these little peaks here with my 3 11-ohs. I'm going to go through the middle 11-oh of each one of those peaks. No beads on my needle, just thread, just going through 3 11-ohs, and I don't think that's what I want to do. I tell y'all, it's been a minute since I've done this. I'm going to take that back out. I'm going to put one bead because that's going to be too much thread showing. So I'm in the second 11-oh of the 3 that I started. I'm going to go over to the next little peak and go into that second 11-oh with one bead. Then I'm going to pick up another 11-oh. I'm going to go over to my next peak and go into the second 11-oh. And then I'm going to go over, pick up another 11-oh and go over into the next peak of 3 that I made and go into the center one. And then pick up another 11-oh and go over into the second one of this peak, which is the one I started on in. Okay, see, so that closes that in a little bit there. Now I'm going to go around with just my thread. I'm going to go into this 11-oh that I put at the top of this peak. I'm going to go into this 11-oh at the top of this peak. Now I'm not going through just the 11-ohs I just put on. I'm going through all the peaks and all the new 11-ohs I just put on. I know I'm probably being confusing, but it's been a minute since I've done this and I can't remember. I'm going through all the 11-ohs I just put on and all the 11-ohs at the peak of the little peaks I made. That just kind of closes that end up there. I'm going to do that several times until it gets pretty good and tight. Till the beads are pretty full of thread. And this is what I would do if I wanted to just add a clasp. I would just close the end in like this and add a clasp. Okay, now I'm just going to take my thread down in here and tie 3 half-hitch knots. So I'm just going to go through some beads. Let's see, which way am I coming out here? I'm going to go through some beads and get down into my project. Be careful not to get hooked around the button. Make sure I'm going through beads and not just going through the center of the bracelet. Okay, I'm just going to turn and no. I'm going to get through this 11-oh. It might take a minute, but I'm going to get through it. Okay, I'm going to turn around and try to get through it. There, that's much easier. I'm going to go through, just keep going through beads and try not to cross over any beads and show any thread. I'm going to get down through this strip of 11-ohs here. Now that I'm away from my end up here, I'm going to find my thread bridge here. Go through my loop. Slowly pull my knot down. Now I'm going to go through a couple more beads. Find my thread bridge here. Go through my loop. Pull my knot down slowly. Go through a few more beads. Find another thread bridge here. Go through my loop. Bring my knot down slowly. And then go through a few beads and cut off my thread. And then I'm going to go down here and I'll do this other end where I cinch in the end with you all too, since I was not very clear when I did it on that end. So I kept changing my mind about what I wanted to do. Okay, now I'm going to take my stop bead off this other end and thread it, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my my needle threaded at this other end down here now. I've got to get out some more 11-ohs. And I'm going to cinch this end in. I'm trying to try to be more clear about what I'm doing this time. My thread's coming out of this pink rondelle. I'm going to pick up 3 of my 11-ohs. And I'm going to jump over here and go into my next big bead, which is my green fire polish bead. Now I'm going to pick up 3 more 11-ohs. And I'm going to jump over here and go into my next big bead, which is my white 8-oh. Try to move this leather out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. Now I'm going to pick up 3 more 11-ohs. I'm going to go over here to my next big bead, which is my blue rondelle. Now I'm going to pick up 3 more 11-ohs. And I'm going to go over here into my next big bead, which is my pink rondelle that I started in. And my thread wants to go on up through that 11-oh, so I'm going to let it because I need to get out this second 11-oh in the first little peak of 3 that I made. Now I'm going to pick up 1 11-oh. And I'm going to jump over here to this next peak of 3 11-ohs that I made and go in the center one. Now I'm going to pick up another 11-oh. And go over here to this next peak of 3 11-ohs I made and go in the center one. I'm going to pick up another 11-oh. Go over here to this next peak of 3 11-ohs I made and go in the center one. Pick up another 11-oh. Go into this next peak of 3 11-ohs that I made and go in the center one, which is the one I started in this round. And now I'm going to go through all the beads that I just added and the beads at the peak of the 3 11-ohs that I made. Just with my needle and thread, not adding any beads. I'm just going to go through all the new beads I just added and all the beads at the tip of those little peaks of 3 that I put on in my first round. And I'm just going to do that several times until I get it good and tight. Can't do it too many times or I'm going to run out of thread and I won't have any thread to tie in to sew in. Might have should have left a little more than 10 inches. I think that's good. I think that's about as closed in as I'm going to get it. So now I'm going to go down into my project here and just tie 3 half-inch knots like I did on that other side. Find a thread bridge right here. Go up through my loop, pull my knot down slowly, go through a few more beads, find a thread bridge here, okay, maybe I'll go down another couple beads and find a thread bridge here. Go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly, go down through a few more beads, find a thread bridge here, go through my loop, pull my thread down slowly, and now I'm just going to sew through a few beads to get away from my knot. And then I'm going to cut off. So now I got my little end closed in a little bit there, just like on this side. Now I'm going to tie a knot here at the end. Before I tie the knot for my loop, I'm going to tie a knot and just an overhand knot here at the end of my work. I don't want it to be, I want it to be kind of up close against the beadwork, but I don't want it to be too close because I don't want the button to be right up. I don't want my button to be right up against here. See, I'm going to have a little room there. So I'm going to tie it about right here. Just kind of put my thumb there where I want it to land. Check that it's where I want it to be before I tie it too tight. Now I'm just going to pull on each piece of the leather until I tighten up my knot. Okay. Now I'm going to go down here and see where I need to make my knot for my button to go through. Probably about right here. Just going to tie another overhand knot. Before I tighten it very much, I'm going to check my button, make sure it'll go through there. Yeah, that's good. It might be a little bit tighter. I'm just going to pull on each piece of the leather to tighten up my knot. Before I cut it off, I'm going to make sure my button will still go through. Yeah, that's good. So now I'm just going to cut off my leather. And I have again forgot to get my GS Hypo cement out, but I will go back and put some GS Hypo cement on that knot. I don't think it's coming out, but just to make sure, I'll Put some GS Hypo cement on it. So there's what I've got. I'm going to get some of my beads cleaned up and I'll be back. Okay, there it is. A Russian spiral made with different sized beads. They're all approximately the same size, but they're different. Fire polished, 2 3x2, 1 3mm fire polish, 2 3x2 rondelles, and an 8/0, and then the 11/0s. There's just a whole lot you can do with Russian spiral. I really enjoy doing it. I have done it entirely with bugle beads, and it kind of makes it look like a little, my husband says it looks like a DNA strand when I do it with the bugle beads. This is my husband's favorite stitch of all the stitches I do. He really loves these. I believe when I show this to him, if he thought he could pull it off, he would probably want to wear it because he really loves this stitch. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook and Instagram and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, I hope y'all have a great day. Take care.